The Redmi 14C has recently been released to the market and it had some upgraded features from its predecessor, the Redmi 13C, like a higher refresh rate of 120Hz, a newer Bluetooth version V5.4, a more recent operating system, and some other features. But are these features even worth making anyone excited enough to make a switch or consider buying the phone? I have been using this phone for some days now, and here are my thoughts about this device based on my experience. Once unboxed, these are all the items in the box. Apart from the earpiece, all other accessories are provided. The Redmi 14C comes in 4 colors: the midnight black, the sage green, the dreamy purple, and the starry blue, which I think is the most unappealing color among them. It has 3 storage options: the 4GB RAM 128GB ROM sold for 135,000 naira, the 6GB 128GB sold for 154,000 naira, and the 8GB 256GB sold for 175,000 naira. Starting with the design, out of the box, this phone is one of those phones you instantly have mixed feelings about its design. One minute you think the design is giving, and the next minute you are wondering and asking yourself, why is the camera bump so big? The back of this green one is made of a textured leather-like material with a matte finish, which I like so much because it helps with better grip and prevents fingerprint smudge. It has a big camera bump at the back that takes up almost all the upper part of the phone. The frame of the phone is slim and it is made of plastic. At the top here is where the headphone jack is located. The speaker and the Type-C charging ports are at the bottom here. The SIM tray that houses 2 nano SIM cards and a memory card is located at the top left of the phone, while the volume rocker and the power button / the side-mounted fingerprint scanner are on the right side of the phone. The display of this phone is a 6.88-inch IPS LCD dot drop display with 720p resolution. While you won't get the best resolution when streaming on this phone, the pictures are vibrant to an extent and you can watch YouTube videos at up to 2160p. The bezels are slim with a screen-to-body ratio of 89.7%. This phone is quite big, so if you have small palms or you are not a fan of big phones just like me, then you might want to consider other phone options. With this phone, the maximum brightness you can get when you slide the display brightness bar is 450 nits, which is typical for most phones like this. While the high brightness mode when using this phone outdoors under direct sunlight gets to up to 600 nits, which is bright enough. But to achieve this level of brightness outdoors, always ensure that the auto brightness feature is enabled on your phone. This phone features a 120Hz refresh rate screen, which I do feel most of these brands are now throwing around on their budget phones just for the sake of it, because when you actually use these devices, you will notice that their screens refresh mostly at 60Hz or 90Hz at max. The same goes for this phone, and I strongly believe it refreshes mostly at 60Hz. Even here on the phone, there is no option to set it at always 120Hz. They only stated that it can get up to 120Hz, which I doubt it does. I also used an app to check and it confirmed my initial thoughts of 60Hz. It runs on Android 14 with Xiaomi Hyper OS that is known for its smooth multitasking and storage optimization. There is no promise anywhere for software updates for this device, so I doubt if it will be getting any. This phone is powered by the MediaTek Helio G81 chipset with a 12nm octa-core processor. I tried getting more information about this chipset but couldn't. Even from the MediaTek's official website, there is nothing yet about this new chipset as of the time of making this video. But from what we have on Xiaomi's website, this chipset has the same features with the Helio G85 in the Redmi 13C. So, performance-wise, there is no significant difference between the two devices. The overall performance of this phone is just what it is, average as it should. Playing high graphics game on this phone, you will experience some lags even when playing at low graphics settings. You might want to consider buying the 6GB and the 8GB RAM storage options of this phone for a better performance and user experience. The battery of this phone is one of its selling points, as there is a slight boost in its capacity from the 5000 mAh that we have on the Redmi 13C And on almost all the phones recently released within the same price point, we have a 5160 milliamp battery capacity on the Redmi 14C. And while it might not seem to be much, it is something and does make a difference. Depending on how you use the phone, this phone can last you for a day or more on a single charge. It comes with a 33-watt charger that offers 18-watt fast charging, and charging this phone from 0 to 100 will take you about 2 hours and 15 minutes. When it comes to network and connectivity, this phone supports 2 nano standby SIMs that supports up to 4G networks. It has a more recent Bluetooth version 5.4, which gives you a more stable connection. The camera design of this phone is where I don't understand what is going on. Looking at this phone and how bold the camera bump is, you would think this phone has at least 2 camera lenses. But no, what we actually have here is one main camera, and this one here is just a depth sensor, while the other ones are for flashlights and aesthetics. This phone has a 50 megapixel main camera and a 13 megapixel selfie camera. The cameras take decent pictures under good lighting. I will attach some of the pictures I took with this phone camera and you make your judgments. I personally like the portrait mode of this camera. Using the portrait mode, the camera was able to separate the subjects from the background by decently blurring the background. Both the back camera and the front camera records at up to 1080p 30 fps. I will also attach 2 videos taken with both the front and the back cameras of this phone. So now, what do you think about the quality of the pictures and videos taken with this phone camera? Let me know what you think about it in the comments below. Overall, I personally think Xiaomi could have done more. For instance, there is no IP rating for this phone at all. The display resolution could have been higher. In fact, I think the lowest resolution smartphone should have is 1080p. This is 2024 and nobody enjoys watching videos at 720p anymore. The design of the phone could have been better as well. All that camera bump that almost took up the entire upper part of the phone for just one camera lens? Really? Also, a phone this big should come with dual speakers, as the single speaker on this phone is not as loud as some of us would want it to be. They could have also gone for a chipset that is actually higher and better than the Helio G85 we had on the Redmi 14C. As for those thinking this phone is a downgrade from the 13C, no, it is not. I rather say it is a rebranded 13C running on Android 14 Hyper OS. Aside from these things I pointed out, the Redmi 14C is a good budget smartphone for those interested in getting a budget smartphone for their young children, and also for adults interested in getting a budget secondary smartphone for their basic smartphone needs. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please hit the subscribe button now to show your appreciation. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in my next video.